Hey everybody, today I'll be going through SAT practice test number 9, section 3, which is the no calculator math section. I'll be taking my time to give thorough explanations on how to solve each problem. So you know this is the actual test from October 2017, so it's a great place to get started studying. Let's jump into question 1. Problem 1, start by reading the problem. For the system equation above, what is the value of x plus y? So recognize with two equations in your system, you'll be solving for each term individually. Look at the form they take and realize that the first step will be to cancel out the x term. You can do this by leaving the first equation alone and taking the second equation and multiplying both sides by -2. So we'll do that, rewrite both your equations down here. You'll have 2x minus y. The first equation stays the same. Second equation, multiply through -2. So you have -2x minus 4y is equal to -8. And then you can just go and sum these equations. And like we intended, our x term goes away. It sums to 0. Your second term will be -5y is equal to 8 minus 8 is 0, which means that y is equal to 0. So there's one part. Now you can go back and plug that y is equal to 0 into your first equation. So take that and you have 2x minus 0 is just 0 is equal to 8. That means that x is equal to 8 divided by 2 is equal to 4. Go back to what the equation is actually asking for. It's asking for x plus y, which will be 4 plus 0 is equal to 4, which means that your answer is 4 and it is B. Problem 2, which of the following is equivalent to this equation that they give here? And the key is to recognize that you have terms that are not simplified. So first go through, simplify your equation, see if that gets you the answer you want. So multiply through 2 by that first parentheses, you'll have 2x squared minus 2x. Then multiply 3 through that second set of parentheses, you'll have 3x squared minus 3x. Take your x squared terms and sum them, so you have 2 plus 3 is equal to 5x squared. Take your x terms and add them together, so you have -2 minus 3 will be minus 5x. See if this is available as a solution, and it is as answer A. A is correct. Problem 3, which of the following statements is true about the graph of 2y minus 3x is equal to -4 in the xy plane? So all your answers talk about slope and intercept. So what you need to do is put the equation into slope-intercept form, which is y is equal to mx plus b. I haven't done it yet, but I'm going to make a video later about this equation, why it's so important. It is the most important equation you can learn going into your SAT. So what you have to do to get this equation in that form, add 3x to both sides. So you have 2y is equal to positive 3x minus 4. Divide by 2, you'll have y is equal to 3 divided by 2x minus 4 divided by 2. You can simplify to 2. Okay, so now you can see they're asking about whether the intercepts and the slopes are positive. So this m is your slope, it is positive. And b is your intercept, and it is negative. So you have to look for positive slope, so we're only looking at C and D, and a negative y-intercept, which is in D. So D is the correct answer here. Problem 4, they're saying the front of a roller coaster car is at the bottom of a hill and is 15 feet above the ground. 15 feet above the ground. If the front of the roller coaster car rises at a constant rate of 8 feet per second, which of the following equations gives a height h in feet of the front of the roller coaster car s seconds after it starts up the hill? So what they're giving you here is an initial condition of this 15 feet and a rate, which is a slope of 8 feet per second. So understand that this will be an equation you can set as y is equal to mx plus b form, just like the previous equation, y equals the previous problem, y equals mx plus b. Very important. So know that when they talk about a rate, they're talking about a slope, so that's your 8. And when they are talking about an initial condition, they're talking about your intercept b, and that's 15 from the problem. So substitute that in, you have y is equal to 8x plus 15. In this problem, they're just using h as y and s as x. No matter, this equation matches A, and that is your correct answer. Problem 5, the equation above gives the amount C in dollars an electrician charged for a job that takes H hours. Ms. Sanchez and Mr. Rowland each hired the electrician. The electrician took 2 hours longer on Mr. Sanchez's job than on Ms. Sanchez's job than on Mr. Rowland's job. How much more did the electrician charge Ms. Sanchez and Mr. Rowland? Okay, so in this case, they were both charged as $125. It's the base rate. And then the one took 2 hours longer. So you're looking at a difference of 75 times 2, which is equal to 150. Means the difference that the two were charged was C, $150. Problem 6. The circle above has center O and the length of arc ADC is 5 pi. And X is equal to 100 degrees. What is the length of ABC, the remaining segment of the circle? The first thing to recognize is that because they give you X equal to 100, you know the degrees for the remainder of the circle. The circle is 360 total. So you have 360 minus 100 degrees, means that the remaining arc length of the circle for that ABC that you're looking for is 260 degrees. The second thing to recognize here is that arc length is proportional to the angle of that arc. So, as you go up, have a larger arc, the arc length increases proportionally, which means you can set up a ratio between your X degrees and this ADC and your remaining degrees, 260 degrees, and your ABC. So what does that look like mathematically? You can set up a ratio, looks like one fraction versus another fraction. On the bottom here, put the information you know. So you know that for an arc length of 5 pi, it's 100 degrees. And over here, what you're looking for is the arc length of ABC. To write it simply, we'll just call that y. And the angle of that we know is 260 degrees. So first thing you can do is simplify over here. You're looking at 26 divided by 10. Let's go ahead and divide both numerator and denominator by 2, and we'll rewrite over here. 5 pi is equal to 26 divided by 2 is 13 over 5. That does not reduce any further. To isolate your y, multiply both sides by 5 pi. So you have y is equal to 13 over 5 times 5 will just be 13. So you'll have, let me rewrite this. So you'll have y is equal to just 13 pi, because you're also multiplying by pi. So y is equal to 13 pi, and that's available as answer B. That's the correct answer. Problem 7, if 8 divided by x is equal to 160, what is the value of x? And this one's simple to solve with no math, because you know that you have 8 divided by some number is equal to a larger number. So that means that to get a larger number out of a fraction, the denominator has to be less than 1. So A is out, it's greater than 1, B is out, greater than 1, C is out. So without doing any math at all, you know the answer has to be D, 0.05, because it's less than 1. Problem 8. In the equation above, A is a constant. If no value of x satisfies the equation, what is the value of A? Take a look at your equation. See that on the right-hand side, there's some simplification that can happen. So let's rewrite our equation, 2ax minus 15, and then simplify here. So you have 3x plus 5, so you'll have 3x plus 15 plus 5x minus 5. This can be, combine your x terms, will give you 8x and then plus 10. At this point, it would be perfectly acceptable and actually not take that much time to plug in the values that they give you for your answers to come up with the correct answer. Another way to do this, a quicker way, and what I think they're looking for in the actual SAT, is recognize that your constant terms here are different, which means that if you set just the x terms equal to one another and you find when they're equal to one another, then that has to be what an x value that doesn't satisfy the equation, because you need that x, you need those terms to be different to counter the fact that the constants are different. So at this point, you can do 2ax is equal to 8x. Divide both sides by 2. You have ax is equal to 4x, and that will, you can cancel out your x's and see that a is equal to 4 is the value which, when plugged back in, there is no x that will give you a solution to the equation. So the correct answer is C4. Problem 9, a system of 3 equations is graphed in the xy plane above. How many solutions does the system have? So recognize that a solution to the whole system of equations means an intersection of all 3 lines. In this case, 2 lines in a parabola, so where those all intersect. So you can take a look at each line. This is not correct. That's only one line. It's not even intersecting anything. That's not correct. This is an intersection of 2 of them. It doesn't count. This is only one line. This is an intersection of 2 of them. There's only one point where all 3, both lines and the parabola, intersect, which means that there's only one solution to the system of equations. Correct answer is B. Problem 10, the equation above is true for all x, where a and b are constants. What is the value of a times b? Quick look at the equation. You can see that the left-hand side can be simplified. You can do this by multiplying through your first terms by everything in the second, and your second term by everything in the second parentheses. We'll go ahead and do that now. You are left with 5ax squared minus abx squared. Oops, this first one's an x cubed, my bad. Minus abx squared plus 4ax. Multiply your 3 through now, and you'll have plus 15x squared minus 3bx plus 12. That's equal to everything on the right-hand side. You don't need that all right now. Simplify this equation further by combining like terms. You have 5ax cubed. That's the only x cubed term. Then you have everything that's associated with an x squared. You have negative ab right here. And then a plus 15 or x squared. Everything that just has an x, you'll have 4a minus 3b x, and that's plus 12 at the end. At this point, go back to what you're actually being asked for, and that is, what is the value of ab? The only place ab appears in this equation is in your x squared term. So at this point, you can pull out and know that this x squared term has to be equal to the x squared term on the right hand side. So you can take a lot of the complexity out of this problem by simply setting the multiplier for x squared from the one side equal to the multiplier for the x squared from the other side. That makes it simply negative ab plus 15 is equal to negative 9. Simplify further, negative ab is equal to negative 9 minus 15 is equal to negative 24. Multiply both sides by negative 1. You have AB is equal to 24. That is what the equation's asking for, what the question's asking for. AB is equal to 24, and that is answer C. Problem 11, which of the following represents all the possible values of x that satisfy the equation above? In this case, I contend the easiest way to solve this is plug in numbers from the answers that you are given. Since D is just a single number 4 that appears in B and C as well, try that first. It's pretty easy. Plug in 4 to the left-hand side. You're left with 4 over 1 is equal to 2 times 4 will be 8 over 2. So you're left with 4 is equal to 4, so that's correct. So 4 is definitely one of the numbers, which means you can eliminate A because it does not include 4. So now it's just a question of what's the other number that satisfies this equation. Is it negative 4 or is it 0? We'll try 0 first, so you'll be left with 0 over negative 3 is equal to 2 times 0 is equal to 0 over 2. That means that both of those are equal to 0. That also checks out. That means that your correct answer is B. 0 and 4 will satisfy the equation. Problem 12. Which of the following is equivalent to the expression above for x is greater than 0? If you take a look at the expression, what needs to happen is this 5 needs to have the same denominator as the first part of the equation, so this 2x plus 1. Recognize that you can multiply anything by 1, which means that anything as long as the numerator and denominator are the same. So in this case, we need to get the denominator for this 5 to be 2x plus 1. So the numerator can also be 2x plus 1. which is equivalent to just multiplying by 1. So simplify that through. You can leave your 1 divided by 2x plus 1 there for now, and plus, at this point, just multiply. When you do this multiplication, you just multiply that 5 by the numerator. So you have 10x plus 5 over 2x plus 1. At this point, the denominators are the same. These can be combined, is equal to 10x stays the same, 10x plus 1 plus 5, you have your 6 over 2x plus 1. At that point, you can check if that is equal to one of your solutions, and it is. Answer D is correct. Problem 13, the graph of function f in the xy plane above is a parabola. Which of the following defines f? So what's the equation of the parabola? Just like y equals mx plus b, this is probably the second most important equation, which is the vertex form of a parabola, equation to know for the SAT. It is y is equal to a times x minus h squared plus k, where hk is the vertex of the parabola, or the bottom or top, depending on which direction the parabola is facing. So at this point, you can plug in 3, 1 as h and k. So you know y is equal to a x minus 3 squared plus 1 is the equation. You still don't know a. At this point, look through your answers, see if that's enough, even not knowing a. You can eliminate b because it has plus 3. You can eliminate d because it has plus 3, not minus 3, but that still leaves you with a and c as contenders, which means you have to solve for a. You can do so by using either of the remaining 2 points. I'll just use this one here. Plug it into the equation for y and x, and you will be able to solve for a. So plug in 5 is equal to a 4 minus 3 squared plus 1. That simplifies to 5 is equal to, that'll be 1 squared, so 1 squared is 1, that's just a plus 1. Subtract 1 from both sides, you have a is equal to 4. So going back to your equation before we plugged in x and y, you're now left with y is equal to 4 x minus 3 squared plus 1. And that is equivalent to A. A is your correct answer. Problem 14. In which of the following does the shaded region represent the solution set in the xy plane to the system of inequalities above? The first inequality is pretty simple because it's already in that y is equal to mx plus b form. The second one you might want to rearrange a bit just to make it easier to see. Isolate your y basically, so you can simplify by saying 3y less than or equal to negative 2x plus 6 divided by 3y is less than or equal to negative 2/3 x plus 2. The key takeaway here being that the first equation has a positive slope, the second equation has the negative slope. So that means that you can see just from the graphs that this line here is the first equation, and this line here is the second equation, and that's true on all these. So let's redraw that over here so that I can scribble on it. These are your xy axes. I'll grab another color here. So this is your positive sloping one, your first equation, and here is your negative sloping one. So in that first equation, you can see that they're saying is greater, y is greater than the slope, which means that, what do we say? This was the first equation, and it's greater than, which means that all the values have to be on this side of the line. The second equation is less than, so all the values have to be underneath the line. So let's grab another color, and we'll say this is the second equation, and it is less than, which means all of the solutions must be underneath. The region of overlap is right here, and that is the region where those values are a solution to the system of inequalities, and that is equivalent to B. You can see that's the area that's shaded in B. B is your correct answer. Problem 15, what is the set of all solutions to the equation square root of x plus 2 is equal to negative x? Look through your possible answers. They're asking about -1 or 2 or both, which means that the easiest way to do this is just plug in to your equation. You only have to do it twice. Start with -1, so square root of -1 plus 2 is equal to, don't let the negative confuse you here, you have to do negative of -1. So you'll have -1 plus 2 is equal to the square root of 1. Is that equal to 1? Yes, it is. 1 is equal to 1. That checks out. So -1 is definitely an answer. It's not just 2, and it's not there are no solutions. The only question is 2 also a solution? So you can write that out. Square root of 2 plus 2, is that equal to -2? Is the square root of 4 equal to -2? No, it is not. It is 2 is equal to -2. That does not work. That means that the only solution is -1, which makes your answer B. Problem 16, I took a break there, sorry for the change in lighting. What is the volume in cubic centimeters of a right rectangular prism that has a length of 4 centimeters, a width of 9 centimeters, and a height of 10 centimeters? They give it to you right here, right rectangular prism, that just means a box. So a lot of, the only trick here is if you read prism, when you think prism, you think of triangular, right prism. You have to make sure to read rectangular and realize it's a box, which just means length times width. Volume is equal to length times width times height, which is simply 4 times 9 times 10. 4 times 9, 36, times 10 will be 360. So your answer is 360 centimeters cubed. You don't need the units when you fill it in. You just fill in 360 on your test. Problem 17, if x satisfies the equation above, what is the value of 2x plus 1? So when you look at the form of this equation, you can see that if you take this, divide everything by 2, so 4x divided by 2 is 2x, 2 divided by 2 is 1, is equal to 4 divided by 2 is 2. So there's your answer. 2x plus 1 is equal to 2. 2 is what you fill in on your test. Problem 18, the figure above shows the complete graph of the function f in the xy plane. The function g, not shown, is defined by g of x is f of x plus 6. What is the maximum value of the function of g? So look at what g of x is, just a constant amount up from f of x, which means that if you plotted this, they don't give you enough room on this graph, but if you take this, say, there's your f of x that looks like that. Your g of x is just any point on here, you take 6 notches up, and that will be, your g of x will look like the same thing, just transposed up 6 notches. Sorry for the not to scaleness, but so that's all that looks like. So that means that the maximum value of the function of g, so the maximum value of the function of x is, right here it occurs 3 times, is 2. So the max of g of x is just 2 plus this 6, which means that the maximum value of g of x is 8. And that's what you bubble in. Problem 19, triangle PQR has a right angle Q. If sine of R is equal to 4 over 5, what is the value of tangent of P? This is probably a good one to draw yourself a picture on, not necessarily to scale. So we'll call this right angle Q, and we'll just put R here and P here. So saying that sine of R, so sine, these are definitions to know going into your test. Sine of an angle is equal to opposite over hypotenuse. So that means that we have 4 on this end and 5 on the hypotenuse, just taking this and applying it here. And now here's another good thing to have memorized going into the SAT is the common right triangles. So it's a lot quicker to recognize that this is a 3, 4, 5 triangle. So you can write in 3 here. That's just a common one. Any multiple of 3, 4, 5 could be there. But since you have 4 and 5, you have 3 on the short side. So now you go to what is the definition of tangent? Tangent of an angle is equal to opposite over adjacent. And they're asking for the tangent value of P. Oh, P is down here. Tangent value of P is equal to opposite, which is 3, over the adjacent, which is 4. So tangent of the angle is 3/4. You can bubble that in, or bubble it in as 0.75 is also acceptable. Problem 20, last one of section 3. The graph of the linear function f is shown in the xy plane above. The graph of the linear function g, not shown, is perpendicular to the graph of f and passes through the point 1, 3. What is the value of g of 0? So the first thing is they give you this point 1, 3. Go ahead and plop a point down at x1, y3. And you know that the line, what you're looking for is where that new line intercepts the y-axis. So they give you that it's perpendicular to the line for f. So go ahead and rough in what a perpendicular line would look like. It'll be something like that. And from there you can tell it'll be somewhere between 2 and 3. You don't know an exact value, so you have to go and really calculate. So what do they give you about this function f? They give you that its slope, or you can see that its slope is rise over run, right? So a rise of -2 with a run of 1, which means that is a slope of -2 over 1, which is simply equal to -2. That's the slope for f. So you can take that, the slope of a perpendicular line is the negative reciprocal of the original line. So what you have is positive multiplied by -1, and take the reciprocal, which will be 1/2. That's the slope of g. Now that you have that, you can write it out in y equals mx plus b form. So you have y is equal to, you now know m is 1/2 x plus b. What you're really after is g of 0 is b, it's the intercept. So how do you find that? You have one point that you can plug in for y and x. So you can plug in 3 is equal to 1/2 1 plus b. That means that 3 is equal to 1/2 plus b. Subtract 1/2, you have 2.5 is equal to b, which is equal to g of 0. So that's your final answer, bubble in, is 2.5. Gut check back with your graph. Yep, I believe that's 2.5. Bubble it in, good to go, completed section 3.